Welcome to Paradise City, a place with a feeling, a town with a calling, a gathering of our most blissful experiences, where we're always curious to know, what's your paradise? I'm Sylvia, and today I'm joined by a couple of roller derby athletes representing the Austin, Texas, based and founded Texas Rollergirls. The Texas Rollergirls have 4 home teams: Hail Marys, Honky Tonk Heartbreakers, Hot Rod Honeys, and the Hustlers. They have an all-star travel team made up of members from all 4 home teams, and they compete internationally as the Texecutioners and the Chainsaws. They are founding members of the Women's Flat Track Derby Association, or the WFTDA, and are currently ranked number 7 in the world. Before we move on, here's Roller Derby 101. According to the WFTDA rules of the game, there are 2 teams on roller skates. Each team has 5 players with 4 blockers called the pack, and 1 jammer who wears a helmet cover with a star on it. Play is broken up into 2 30-minute periods, and within those periods, units of play called jams, which last up to 2 minutes. There are 30 seconds between each jam. The 2 jammers start each jam behind the pack and score a point for every opposing blocker they lap each lap. Because they start behind the pack, they must get through the pack, then all the way around the track to be eligible to score points on opposing blockers. The team with the most points wins. The Texas Rollergirls are the originators of flat track derby, which is played on a flat oval track. This playing surface was developed so the sport can be played almost anywhere that is suitable for skating. With an accessible foundation, anyone can build their local derby community and be a part of a global movement with more than 400 leagues worldwide. On this episode, Paradise is a revolution on skates.
An ideal game for me is the last game of the tournament, and you've already blown out the first bracket, the second bracket. Everybody's tired equally on both teams, putting it all out there. You've been practicing all season. So more of like just the final countdown, and your whole team, they've just been vibing the whole time you've been practicing. They're vibing in the warm-up, everybody's playing the pump-up jams, and everybody's giving encouraging messages like they've never done before to each player. And it's just like everybody is grooving together. I mean, once you're in sync with your team, like you're unstoppable out there on the track. My name's Amanda Brennan. I skate under the name Bazooka Bubble Bum. I have been with Texas Rollergirls since winter of 2018. Before that, I skated for Dallas. I am part of the Heartbreakers, and I'm also part of the Texecutioners. I am also an advisory board member for Texas Rollergirls.
Before the game even starts, I have to feel like I'm in sync with my teammates. And so that means different things for different people. I have teammates that like to chill and meditate. I have teammates that like to dance it out. Right before the game, we're always on the same page as far as like what our game plan is and the strategy that we plan to use to kind of get the best results from that particular bout. Feeling good during the warm-up is essential. So that means everything from having the right supplements and snacks to just feeling good with my gear, because you'd be surprised how much things like humidity and temperature and the makeup of the floor surface can change how you skate. And there's nothing worse than warming up for a game and just feeling like, oh, my wheels aren't right, oh, my cushions aren't right, or oh, this floor is trash. So pre-game warm-up have to be on point. A lot of times in our sport, whichever team gets the most lead jams is the team that ends up doing the best. So I like to come out the gate getting lead in the first several jams just to set the tone and establish from jump that like we're gonna win this. I know that's not always exciting for the crowd because the crowd likes to see that back and forth. They like there to be some tension. But as a team member, I actually prefer a blowout. Even with the nail biters, I like to still establish getting lead from the beginning. Like throughout the game, there can be some tense moments. It's a full contact sport, so you get hit, people hit you. Sometimes it feels like some hits are a little bit dirtier than others. There's always a way to deal with it and to say like, hey, even though we're rivals, we don't have to set a bad example in front of our crowd. So I like games that are physical and very intense, very aggressive, but we still have mutual respect for each other as far as ourselves and the opponent. And then, of course, the end of a perfect game is a win. So end it by getting the W. I'm Jazz Daigle. My derby name is Fleur de Lethal. I have been with Texas Rollergirls since winter of 2016. That's when I transferred from Nashville, tried out, and was eventually drafted to the Hot Rod Honeys. I am now captain of the Hot Rod Honeys. I am a travel team representative. So the travel team is the Texecutioners and the Texas Chainsaws. And I'm also PR coordinator for the Texas Rollergirls.
What are the origins of your passion for roller derby? Where does this interest come from for y'all?
When I was a kid, my mom totally would just drop me off at a skating rink for daycare. So my passion started very early for skating. I mean, at that age, I didn't even know like derby could exist, or like even when derby was existing, I didn't know. It was kind of like an underground thing at first. I knew I was meant to do something. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be Christy Yamaguchi. I'm gonna be an ice skater. It wasn't until I saw derby, I was like, this is it. This is what I've been prepared for my whole life. I'm ready to play derby. And why I like it so much is it doesn't matter if you're tall, if you're short, if you're wide, or if you're narrow. Anyone can play, and it brings a new challenge. And the more players join, the more challenges you having. It's ever evolving, and the rules change too year to year. It's just a challenge, and that's what like is my passion. I want to be challenged, and it just keeps me interested every year. It keeps me going.
That's a tough question for me to answer because honestly, I don't know. I was brought into derby in Nashville. I was working at a Verizon Wireless call center because I graduated from college at the worst time to try to find a job in American history. Well, probably not in the entire history, but you get what I'm saying. Like spring of 2009, people weren't really hiring new graduates like that. I ended up sitting next to a woman who was a member of Nashville Rollergirls, and she told me I should go to rec league, and I said no, and she kept bugging me for 6 months, and eventually I went. And I borrowed some skates from the league so I could try out rec league, and I was trash. And honestly, I was gonna quit until the woman who became my derby sister, Terabyte, she gave me like the best pep talk ever. And I went from being like, I'm gonna quit to, actually I'm gonna invest $400 into this sport and get my own skates. And after that, like I said, it was like an uphill battle. So like what I can tell you is that for me, it happened off the track. I love the sport. I love skating. It's so much fun. The journey of me becoming an athlete, because I wasn't naturally one. So like to learn so much about fitness and being an athlete that now I'm a personal trainer, the sport definitely changed my life. But I think the thing that I love most is just trying to keep this sport going. Like I love the fact that, it's volunteer run and operated, and that, this group of athletes has said like, yeah, we could maybe sell our brand to, an owner and just do whatever they tell us. But like, we are invested in seeing this through in our own image. We don't want somebody to tell us who we are. We want to tell the world who we are and have the people who appreciate that identity gravitate to us.
As skaters too, you're not just playing. I mean, you're advising, you're mentoring, you're promoting, marketing. What is the full scope of the areas that you and your teammates volunteer to do?
So one of the mottos that has been around since the inception of the sport is for the skater, by the skater. So whereas other sports, they might have people that set up the venue for them or, take care of a lot of the administrative work. With Texas Rollergirls, the athletes have to make sure the venue is set up. We're responsible for having merch to sell. We coordinate our own travel. We coordinate our own schedule. Within the league, we train like skaters within the league, train other skaters within the league. Our rec league program, when it's going on, trainers within the league also train other skaters who want to learn the sport in our rec league program. When we are doing junior derby clinics, we also train the junior skaters, the young girls who aspire to be grown roller derby athletes one day. Sometimes we volunteer in the community. We have taken responsibility for part of Cesar Chavez, and when there's not a pandemic going on, through the Keep Austin Beautiful program, we're able to, take care of the beautification of that street. Sometimes we volunteer at food banks. Some of us have volunteered at animal shelters. When you get down to the team basis and how we volunteer throughout the community, it can vary because each team has enough autonomy to be able to say like, okay, this is what we want to do.
I do want to ask, like, what is the makeup of personalities and backgrounds that you've seen are attracted to the sport?
Alpha females. And if you're not, and you're an introvert and shy, you'll become an alpha female. It's a lot of alpha females that I've experienced. I mean, it is a lot of different people, but you're finding yourself playing the game. You get more confidence. You might see someone starting off like, I don't know if I can like join the group, but like the rest of the season, at the end of the season, you see them and they're like bossing people around. We all come in different, but I feel like we all end up kind of the same.
There definitely are a lot of alpha females. There's also, like, in the derby community as a whole, there's a lot of non-binary people. There's even, a lot of men who end up involved in our sport as officials or on the men's roller derby team. So it's like, if you're talking about the roller derby community as a whole, it is so diverse. And as far as like what I see with Texas Rollergirls, even that, just so many different types of personalities. You have some people who seem a little more timid than others, and then you have some people who are just like always on 12 on a scale of 1 to 10, and you never really know what they're gonna do on the track. One of the skaters that I train is probably one of the most quiet skaters in the entire derby community, but like on the track, she is just a force to be reckoned with. But if you were to just go by the personality she exudes whenever you talk to her, you would like never suspect it. But she's scary on the track. So I would have to say, at the end of the day, people who are attracted to this sport and stick with it are people who are willing to put in the work. Like, it takes work, it takes time to invest, and you have to be the type of person that isn't going to quit because you get discouraged. You have to be the type of person that's willing to like talk it out with your teammates or sometimes your opponents, depending on the situation. You have to be the type of person who's willing to put in work both on and off the track, because while our athletic performance is important, if we don't take care of business off the track, there is no organization to skate for. And the people who stick around, I just see a lot of resilience, a lot of tenacity, regardless of their skill level or if they're shy or if they're bold. They just have what it takes to like take something and just stick with it.
Do you have any advice for people that might be in the same spot where y'all have been, where you want to take your passion to the next level, or you want to try something new and want to find a community where you can share that passion or that interest with others?
I mean, if you know a skater, send them my way. I'll come meet up with them. I want to know them. Send them to me. But I mean, if you are passionate about skating, like, dig deep into it. If you are passionate and interested, you're going to research and you're going to find those groups, and then you'll find derby out there. If you're passionate, get into it. Get deep with it.
So I think sometimes people get discouraged because maybe they don't see themselves in a certain industry, or they start wondering if what they're trying to do is even possible. So do not stop searching for that inspiration. And if you don't find anything that's exactly like what you're trying to do, think about the elements that make up what you're trying to do and, find inspiration there. But like, whatever you do, don't quit unless you genuinely change your mind and you're like, you know what, I actually want to follow another path. But don't let the lack of representation or lack of examples be the reason that you quit. You will be surprised the paths that you can find if you just look. Even when people tell you like, oh, you have to have XYZ to do such and such, and you don't have it, you would be surprised how many people can get far along that path without having the XYZ that everybody says you need. Go after it wholeheartedly. And as far as those like young athletes in the skate park, same thing. It's like, if you have aspirations of being a roller derby athlete, there's junior derby, there's rec league, there's so many videos online. So even though we're not having any of these programs like in person right now, there's so many videos online where you can learn how to skate. You can learn all the derby skills that go into being a good derby athlete. So that way, when it's time and these things start back up, you're already ahead of the game. Just know that sometimes you have to travel your own path, and sometimes you might feel like you're alone in that path. Like, search for the people who are along the lines on that path and, build a community if you have to.
If you're about supporting the Texas Rollergirls as they bounce back from their 2020 hiatus, consider a donation to their organization and know that what you contribute will go towards fueling what they love to do, and that is to teach, train, and build a community with other aspiring skaters and athletes. Find more information and send your Derby dollars to texasrollergirls.org/donate. That's TEXAS rollergirls.org/donate.
I can't get enough of the punny derby names. I wish I had one. I know it's not just picked from a random name generator. I think it's a bit more personal than that. So what's the story behind your derby name?
I really wanted something silly that was long also that the announcers would have to say and maybe slip up on. So alliteration was really funny. Bazooka Bubble Bum at the line, and they have to say it really fast as they're playing in the game, you got to call that person's name. But I also did competitive cheerleading my whole life. And I thought when I joined Derby, I was going to be this hard, rough, tough person. And I didn't want to lose the kind of silly, bubbly part of me. So Bazooka Bubble Bum, I kept saying it over and over. Bazooka Bubble Bum, Bazooka Bubble Bum. I was yeah, that's me. That is me. Totally me.
That is so funny. I did not know you were a cheerleader. I also did not know that you picked your name to troll the announcers. Oh, goodness. That's hilarious. My first Derby name was actually Jasmanian Devil, but at that stage, I was so bad, I didn't anticipate ever playing. So I never bought a jersey with that name on it. And by the time I developed to where I could skate competitively, I just wanted something that felt different. But I know at the time I was feeling a little homesick. I grew up in Louisiana, and the fleur-de-lis is the state symbol of Louisiana. And so I went with fleur-de-lithal as kind of a play on words. People from Louisiana who see my name, they get it. But then there are other people who they're just kind of where'd you get that? I like it. People call me Lethal for short. I love that. So it just works.
When you have your coach hat on, you've mentioned you're training players. What are the tips and tricks you drive home?
Derby is mostly conditioning, but you have to have strong enough muscles for your body to be able to withstand what you're going to put it through on the conditioning side. So before we start worrying about endurance or, can I make it through a 2-minute jam? It's yeah, we're going to strengthen that posterior chain. Anything that has a limited range of motion, we're going to fix that. Any limitations or any deficiencies that you have, we're going to strengthen those to make sure that your body is in shape to be able to play this sport. Like I said, it's a full contact sport. There's a lot of risks, so you want to take that out. And then otherwise, recovery. A lot of people, especially whenever they have aspirations of being an athlete, have this go hard or go home mentality. And I like that sometimes, but recovery is important. During a workout, you have to have the proper amount of rest time between sets. Whenever you're not working out, you have to make sure you're taking care of your body. You have to make sure you're foam rolling, make sure you're stretching, make sure you're doing your prep work, your accessory exercises, make sure you're taking those salt baths or ice baths if needed. Because if you don't recover the way that you need to, basically if you don't sit down, at some point your body will sit you down. So it's better to just work that into your routine and fight that mental urge to just keep going and going and going, as opposed to waiting until that, that thing happens. That's okay, now I don't have a choice. Now I can't work out. Now I can't practice.
What are the goals and aspirations for the Texas Rollergirls post-pandemic this year and beyond?
Watching during the pandemic, people are getting back into roller skating. People have questions about Derby. 2021, we want to capitalize on bringing those new people in. We want to retain our players who haven't retired, but recruitment is just essential, new skaters, volunteers, fans, and those junior Derby players. So I'm sure that's what we'll be focusing on for the rest of the year.
So Texas Rollergirls have been on a hiatus because the Women's Flat Track Derby Association initiated a Lives Before Laces protocol when the pandemic started. Right before everything shut down in Austin, we were actually planning to have international championships here in Austin. And it was going to be an epic celebration of kind of a return to flat track roller derby's home. Coming out of it, we really want to reconnect with the community. There was a time when Austin was smaller and things moved slower and they were less expensive, but there was a time when Texas Rollergirls had a very strong connection with musical acts in the city and with different venues where we would hold our bouts and our after parties, and with communities where we would volunteer or go to promote our bouts. We really want to reestablish that connection with the community and basically give the community a reason to support us and to be proud of us. Because it's like, we've stayed in the top 10 in the world representing the city of Austin since the inception of the sport. And we really just want the rest of Austin to like celebrate that fact every year with us. And it just kind of feels like the bigger Austin gets, the more to the back of people's minds we're kind of pushed. For a while, the city of Austin has been gracious enough to allow us to reserve time at a couple of parks where our derby track has actually been painted on the ground. And it's been really great to have places to practice. But especially like for things like our juniors program that involves children, or the rec league program that involves people who might not be as acclimated to the heat as we are, we want to have a space that we can kind of climate control so that we can welcome even more people to the community and not have things like rain or snow or the intense heat in the summer stop people from joining us and being a part of our organization. We just want to come back strong and be able to keep representing the city of Austin at the top level. We can't wait to start skating again and having practices again and get to the point where we're competing on an international stage again. And our goal is to just do that better than we've ever done it.
What does it mean to y'all to be a part of this group that has this legacy as originators of the flat track derby and just reputation as one of the best teams in the world?
I'll just say I moved here from Dallas and I had to interview for jobs. I found that every time I name dropped Texas Rollergirls, I feel like I got in the door a little bit because everyone had a story. Everyone in Austin has been to a game. They've shared some kind of special moment with us. It's pride. Like, I take a lot of pride in representing Texas Rollergirls because once they see that jersey on me, like, they know that I'm a part of something special, part of like the city. And that means everything to me, and I take it very seriously.
I really like the fact that she used the word pride because that definitely describes how I feel being a part of Texas Rollergirls. When I first started playing roller derby, I didn't really pick up the sport very easily. It took a while before I was able to like get enough to bout against other skaters. And so in Nashville, I kind of took on a very much off the track role. I was very integral in things like marketing and coordinating volunteers and whatnot. And so then coming to Texas, like I was very interested in how they operated. And it wasn't until like probably shortly before I moved to Texas that I even realized that flat track roller derby started with Texas Rollergirls. And just learning that story, I was so amazed by the fact that this group of women created a community, like a sort of cultural movement that grew across the nation and now around the world. The Women's Flat Track Derby Association, which was in essence created by members of Texas Rollergirls along with some other member leagues in the initial stages. It's now home of 460 leagues worldwide. And just to think about the fact that all that started with some women in Austin who had an idea and they had a vision and they developed a means of supporting each other and creating a community through this awesome sport. That is just wild to me that they like literally changed the lives of people around the world. I'm really proud to keep that legacy going. I'm so proud to be a part of the travel team as we, even though rankings are paused, we're still ranked number 7. That was like our most recent ranking. And just being a part of maintaining the legacy of the team and also the legacy of Texas Rollergirls as an organization, it means the world.
Yeah, how can we as an Austin community, as a global community too, how can we support you during the pandemic and when you're back in full force and in person?
We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So with that being the case, we do accept donations. Whenever we're having events, there's also advertisement opportunities. And then we also will do like in-kind donations. So if there's anything that we can do for a business or an organization and they would in turn donate something to us, those are also options. Outside of that, when you see us posting on social media, like definitely share it. Feel free to ask questions, reach out and ask questions. When we do come back, please show your support. Come to the bouts, share the information about the bouts. When you see the flyers, take pictures, share them on social media. And, if you know a skater, like show them some love. Like, a lot of us have been a little bit frustrated, with the long hiatus. But other than that, partner with us, support us. And, if you ever have any questions about, anything that you think we should or could be doing in the community, feel free to reach out. We're just a group of like everyday people. We have teachers, we have bankers, we have people that work at UT, all sorts of people make up our organization.
I do have one final question for y'all, and we're going to close this out with, what's your paradise? Now that you've reflected on your path here and the community you're around.
My paradise would be owning my own skating rink, or getting to skate for a living, getting paid to be a skater, but also everybody getting to enjoy skating. Everyone has a pair of skates. Like, we all skate in harmony together. That would be my paradise.
Honestly, my paradise would be, same thing. Like, just, even if not being paid to be a skater full time, just to have enough support to where the people who want to participate in this sport can. We love traveling and, kicking butt against these teams from Canada and Australia and UK, all in the name of this great city. But there are some people who want to participate and can't because of the cost. I would love for that to no longer be a barrier. I would love for us to get enough support from the city to where we can have a practice space with locker rooms, to where we can give skaters a per diem whenever we travel representing the city, to where, we can waive dues or help people pay for their skates, pay for their gear, or take away whatever financial barriers that exist. Because as diverse as our organization is, I just know that there are some athletes out there who are like, I would do this, but I have to work 3 jobs, or I would do this, but I can't practice at night, or I can't afford to fly to Canada for a 3-day tournament. I would just love to be able to take those barriers away so all of those people, can lend their skills to our organization and make it the actual best it can be, the actual best skaters in Austin instead of just the best skaters who can afford it.
For the next generation and for anyone else that's interested in this, there shouldn't be any barriers. We should be working as a city to make this accessible and affordable as possible to communities that may not be exposed to this or may not know this is an option for them. Thank y'all so much for taking the time to share your stories. The takeaway, roller derby is just this intense, fast-moving, empowering, entertaining sport. And in this world, you play hard and you love harder because that's what ultimately drives you and your teammates to do your best and to stay in the top 10 in the world.
Thanks to Jazz Daigle, aka Fleur de Lethal, and Amanda Brennan, aka Bazooka Bubblebum, for joining me today, representing the Texas Rollergirls. Get more information at texasrollergirls.org and follow them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Texas Rollergirls. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and support us on Patreon at Paradise City Pod. Finally, wherever you are in the world, support your local derby team, start your own, keep skating, or go out right now and get a pair of skates, and share this episode with someone that should too. I'm Sylvia, and this has been Paradise City. Thank you for listening. Till next time.